Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to pick back up today with a short video on the powers that Congress has. So this is going to be strictly relating to the United States Congress, nothing to do with the North Carolina General Assembly or local legislatures. These powers are going to be just a little different than the powers we talked about in the last video. So without further ado, let's go talk about powers that Congress has. So there are express powers. They're called express powers because they are actually written in the Constitution and you can actually read them. They're written in Article 1. These powers include things like collecting taxes, declaring war, creating post offices, regulating immigration, coining and printing money, raising a military, and regulating commerce. These are all things that Congress can do, and it specifically says in Article 1 of the Constitution that Congress can do these things. Okay? So moving over to implied powers. Implied powers are a little different, okay? The word implied means that you know someone can do something, but they didn't necessarily say it, okay? Or you know someone means something, but they didn't necessarily say it. So these powers are not actually written into the Constitution, but it is assumed that Congress has these powers. And the reason being is because of the elastic clause, which is also called the necessary and proper clause. So Congress has Congress has the power to do things like create a national bank. That goes back to, in express powers, coining money. So because Congress can coin money, like commerce, that means they have to have a way to get commerce from one place to another, aka like we have to have highways so that 18-wheelers can take goods and products across the country. Congress can also create an air force. That goes with declaring war and raising a military. When the Constitution was written, there was no such thing as airplanes, so there was no way that the framers of the Constitution could have known that they would even need an air force. They can also regulate health insurance. That has come a little later on about regulating health insurance, but that kind of goes with the preamble where it says everybody or maintain the general welfare. So none of these things are actually written, but because of implied powers, the Congress can do these things. And then you have denied powers, which are things that Congress cannot do. So Congress cannot favor one state over another. They cannot pass ex post facto laws, meaning you can't arrest someone for something they did when it was legal. They can't pass bills of attainder. A bill of attainder prevents someone from having a trial in a judicial case. You can't deny the writ of habeas corpus, meaning when someone is arrested, you have to tell them what they're accused of. And you can't tax exports. All these go back to things that the British did initially. So that's why it specifically says in the Constitution that Congress cannot do these things. So here are some special powers of the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives chooses the president if there is a tie in the Electoral College. So if you remember, there are 538 electoral votes. If it comes down to a 269-269 tie, then the House of Representatives would choose the president. Currently, the House of Representatives is controlled by Democrats. So if that were the case in this election, it would most likely be Joe Biden that won the election. But on the flip side, let's say the Republicans chose, or the Republicans controlled the House of Representatives, that would be Donald Trump that would win in that scenario. The House of Representatives also is responsible for starting the impeachment process, not actually impeaching the president or holding a trial, but starting the impeachment process. And they also pass appropriation bills. And an appropriation bill is a bill that deals with money. Make sure you underline that and highlight it and do whatever you got to do to know what an appropriation bill is, because you're going to see it again. So some special powers of the Senate. They choose the vice president if there's a tie in the Electoral College. So conceivably, we could have a president and a vice president from different political parties. For instance, let's say it came down to a tie in the election of 2020. And currently, Democrats control the House of Representatives, so they would most likely choose Joe Biden to be the president. Well, the Senate currently is controlled by Republicans, so they would most likely choose Mike Pence to be the vice president. The Senate also holds an impeachment trial. A lot of people think the Supreme Court holds an impeachment trial, but that's not the case. Impeachment trials are held in the Senate, and they approve treaties and appointments. So currently, Donald Trump has chosen a Supreme Court justice, but she's not officially a Supreme Court justice yet because she still has to go through the approval process of the Senate. And that goes for all federal judges, not just Supreme Court justices. So in your notes, write the Senate approves, the Senate approves, the Senate approves in big bold letters, because 9 times out of 10, if you get a question that says who approves and then it asks the rest of the question, you can just stop reading because the answer is going to be the Senate. All right, guys, that is all for the video today. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to answer it for you.